Manchester United 0, Southampton 0, a point at Old Trafford today. Disappointing, considering obviously coming off the back of the 7-0 defeat last weekend to Liverpool, seeing Liverpool slip up yesterday and lose, and we could have made it all be worth for nothing. And I really do not like, as much as I moan about referees and VAR, I don't like to blame results on officials, because I do always think that you always have the opportunity to react, and you always have time to react, and you always have opportunities to bounce back, chances to create. But you cannot say that the referees and the VAR, not just the referee in the middle, Anthony Taylor, who had a shocking game, but the VAR as well, has not completely determined the course of this game. I mean, major flashpoints wrong. And I understand that opposition fans will say, well, if it was the other way round, Owen, if it was the other way round, you'd be screaming for this, that, and the other. If it was the other way round, and this is what baffles me when people tell you how you should think or how you would think in a certain situation. If it's the other way round for some of these calls, I would say we don't really have much of a choice there, because I don't think it's a red card, and I do think it's a penalty. So let's start on the Casemiro red card, because that's really what does change the game. Casemiro gets sent off in the first half. He's now suspended for 4 games because it's his second straight red card of the season. The second time, by the way, that he wasn't red carded initially. The second time that VAR has intervened and given a Casemiro red card. Not the referee making the decision to red card, and VAR telling the referee that they should have a second look at a situation. For me, is it a bad tackle? It's not the best tackle in the world. But he gets the ball. He gets the ball first. Yes, he goes over it, and the studs are showing, and the follow-through looks bad. But when VAR is freeze-framing a certain shot with his foot on the guy's leg, of course it's going to look like a red card. Of course that is going to look like a red card when the referee goes over to the screen and sees it in slow motion and sees the freeze-frame replay of his foot on his shin. He's going to go, well, it's a red card. It's a clear red card. But when you slow it down, when you look at it frame by frame, you're taking every single bit of context out there. And you know what? What do we always say just in life? Trust your instincts. The referee's initial instinct for the Casemiro red card was that it was a booking. It was a yellow card because it's early on in the game. There wasn't malice in that tackle. He didn't go in to break his leg. He went in to win the ball. He did win the ball, and then he followed through. We saw last week at Anfield, Scott McTominay do a tackle that was largely similar. Comes through, gets the ball, leaves a bit on the player. He got a booking. Because it's a booking, because you say to the player, look, I don't really want to ruin the game. I don't want to really give an advantage to either side. It's a booking. You came in high. You came in a bit too hard. It's a booking. Move on. But VAR unnecessarily intervening in stuff that they don't need to, and there's no consistency. As I've said before, I don't have a problem if you give that as a red card, but you have to give that as a red card every single time, or at least the majority of the time. But we know they won't. Casemiro's first red card earlier on this season, the hands round the neck, the shoving. I said at the time, we will see instance now where there are comings together between players and hands going around to faces and necks, and they won't be red carded. And we have seen it time after time after time after time. Yesterday, the King Power Stadium, there were multiple times there were tackles far worse than that, and they weren't given as red cards. And you can't put that down to human error when you've got VAR and you've got all of these different looks at it. What you're saying is that's a red card, but that isn't. But they're the same. They're the same picture. It's like I'm in the office. It's the same. And that completely changed the game. Going down to 10 men in the first half, I don't care if they're near the bottom of the league. It's a Premier League game. You put yourself at a massive disadvantage. And then at the very least, you're hoping, well, they got that wrong. I'm sure they'll get the rest of it right. Will they balls get the rest of it right? Because to me, there's a clear penalty there. Absolute stonewall penalty with a handball. The ball comes in, the player's on the floor, so he's in an unnatural position anyway because he's on the floor. It hits him here. He controls the ball with his arm in the box. Let alone does he control the ball, he prevents the ball from going behind him to Wout Weghorst, who, because he's on the floor, the ball's going to Weghorst's foot, and he's in the middle of the box. He might score, or at the very least, he's having an opportunity to score. So what you've done there, you've controlled the ball, you've blocked the ball, and you prevented a goal-scoring opportunity. But apparently, that's not a penalty. Now, if the referee misses that one, stuff does happen very quickly. That's where you're saying VAR, that's where you should intervene. That's where you should go, I tell you what, I think you might have missed something there. No, I'm not sure about that. And it's the inconsistency that is just absolutely baffling to me. Absolutely baffling. And I'm not saying because you made a wrong decision earlier on in the game, you have to level it up and give us a dodgy one or anything like that. And I'm not saying give us every decision either. Bruno Fernandes went down in the box. I didn't think it was a penalty. I thought it was soft. I thought he was looking for it. But we're talking about clear things that influence games. Clear decisions. And it's not good enough. It's not good enough because if they come out later on, which they've done this season, not just for us, for other teams as well, if they come out later on this season or in a couple of weeks' time and they say, yeah, we got it wrong, we got it wrong, that doesn't do us any favours. No favours whatsoever. That's why I sympathised with Manchester City, with the offside goal in the Manchester derby when they came out and they said, we got it wrong. And they said, well, that doesn't do us any favours. That doesn't get the points back. They're in a title race. It's not good enough. And I say time and time and time again, we are in a Premier League. We are the best league in the world. We pride ourselves on getting the best in class from around the world, whether it's managers, whether it's players, whether it's whoever. Okay, we get managers from all around the world, all around Europe. Oh, these are the best. The best managers want to come to the Premier League. The best players are the best players. They want to come to the Premier League. They want to come to England. Why don't we do the same with the referees? Why don't we do the same with officials? Because it's just not good enough. And it's so inconsistent and it's getting worse. I thought with the invention of technology, they'd make things better, but somehow they're getting more stuff wrong. And I just don't understand it. I don't. Now, obviously, again, I don't want to be one of those fans, even though I've ranted for like nearly 7 minutes now about referees and VAR and inconsistency. We had, we still had opportunities, shall we say. I felt that in the first half, prior to the red card, we started a bit lethargic. We were a bit slow. We did have opportunities, though. Marcus Rashford got in behind. You could argue, keeper makes a great save. You could argue maybe he should square it to Weghorst in the middle. David De Gea, again, a couple of times today, really bails us out, saving the first half. Wan-Bissaka should clear it. It's a header. It's quick. It's at him, but it's quick. He makes an excellent save. It just felt a bit flat. Wan-Bissaka got caught out a couple of times, and then after that, Casemiro gets sent off, and you're just wondering, now how are we gonna hang on? What are we gonna do? Varane had a header, good save by the keeper. And we rode our luck because we were down to 10 men. We rode our luck, absolutely. James Ward-Prowse clips the top of the bar from a free kick. Aaron Wan-Bissaka clears the ball off the line. David De Gea makes a big save from a counter-attack as well. Aaron Wan-Bissaka gives the ball away. Theo Walcott's through on goal. De Gea one-on-one makes the save. You could argue Walcott should finish better, but absolutely De Gea bails us out for the second time today. Bruno Fernandes is unlucky as well. Takes a shot. Keeper tips it on the post. It's a fantastic save. They then go close. It's a few minutes later. Kyle Walker-Peters, and it was kind of a game that was going to be end-to-end because it was lopsided because we had a player down. And we still felt like we need to go for it. You can't shut up shop against Southampton at home in the Premier League. You still have to go for it, but you're going to leave yourself open. And it's a game, really, that was determined by the officials. It was. It just was. And it's poor, and it's not good enough. But it's constant in the Premier League. It really is. And it's really, really frustrating because today you felt was a real good opportunity, lower table team at home after the Liverpool game. And after 30 odd minutes, whenever Casemiro gets sent off, it just becomes a completely different game. Now, you cannot still argue, you still had plenty of the game. You still could have made opportunities. Were players at their best today? No, I don't think so. Did they react well to the red card? Maybe not in the best way possible. We didn't have our best game, and we still had opportunities that we could have won the game, and I'm sure that's what Ten Hag will look at. But for me, you can't look at this game and say that it's not been heavily influenced by poor officiating for me. And now, looking forward, our midfield options are incredibly limited. Casemiro is out of action now for 4 games. I think they should appeal, but to be honest, I have no faith that it's going to be overturned. Casemiro, again, 4 games. He's not going to feature in the Premier League, I think, for something like 34 days. Sabitzer, he's got a knock at the moment, so we don't know when he's going to be back. Next thing you know, we're back to Fred and McTominay. That's a problem. We've still got Eriksen out. When he's going to be back, they said end of March, end of April, beginning of May, so he's not going to be back for a while. Ten Hag said he is going to be back this season, but the game just looks completely different, doesn't it now? It really does. Well, the games looking ahead look very, very different, and it's going to be challenging. And we've got to find a way to overcome that. So does Ten Hag, and we've got to move on. Fortunately, I suppose you could argue the team that's really closing us down would be Liverpool. They dropped points yesterday. We were 8 points ahead of them. So our space in the top four is still relatively comfortable. Newcastle have still got to play at the time of recording this. Spurs won yesterday. Title race, we're not in. But certainly top four, we're still, our fate and our destiny is still well within our hands, and that's the important thing. But it's a massive blow, and it's frustrating because it feels like, we didn't get any help. Not that you need help from the officials, but you expect decisions to be correct, and they were not for me today. But there you go. We get a point at Old Trafford, and we move on to Thursday.